Hello guys, so in this video we will take a deeper look into the contents window. You can call it contents window, you can call it layer list, or you can call it table of content. It's the same thing, and the content window will show you the layers you have on your map, and you can manage your layers, you can manage the orders, you can manage the symbology, and you can do so many different things from the content menu. But first of all, if you cannot see it at any time, let's say for example you have your map like this, you can go to the view ribbon and click on contents, and it will open the content window for you. So we will go through every single option here. So let's start by filter. Here you have the filter option, so you can filter your layers based on visibility, so it will show only the visible layers. And also here you can have not visible, so you can only see the layers that is not visible. Or here you have a focusable images, and this will show you the images or the raster layers you have in your map. And here we have also feature layers, so this will show you only the feature layers. It's not going to show any base map, it's not going to show any raster. Or you can filter by raster layer or tiled service layer, which is the base map. As you see here, now we filtered by this. Most of the time you will use this if you have a map with so many layers and you want to work, for example, on the feature layers only. You can filter by feature layer, or you want to focus on the raster images to do georeferencing for like so many different raster images, you can filter it from here. Also the same thing, if you have a lot of layers, you can come here and search, and once you type a certain thing and you press enter, it will filter for you any layer or any item that have the name you typed right here. So that's for the search and for the filter. Here we have different options to view our layers. The first one is just show you the layers based on the order you put them in your content list right here. And here the second option will be to show you the layers based on the data source. So sometimes, as you see here, for example, we have different layers, and each group of layers coming from different data source. So we have the feature classes coming from the geodatabase, we have at this location. We have the raster images coming from this folder coming from this location, and we have the base layer coming from two different locations, and it's hosted online, so it shows you what is the URL that is used to host this image. So here you choose list by data source, and in this one you use it in case you want to know where the data is hosted and what is the data source for each layer on your map. The next option here we have a list by selection. And list by selection will show you the selectable features. So right now, if we go to edit and we try to do select, you'll see that it will select everything right here. But if I just want to focus my selections to be on the freeways only, I can hide this one, hide this one, hide this one, clear the selection, do my selection again, and you will see that it will only select the freeways. So this is one of the things to keep in mind also. If you are like working on your features and you do editing, or you want to do selection, or whatever you do on the map, and you're trying to select a feature and it's not selectable, you cannot select it, make sure to come here and click on list by selection and make sure that this specific layer is checked right here. And also the other thing is, here it will show you how many features is selected on this layer if you have anything selected. So right now it shows me that I have 11 features selected on my freeways. And if you have any layers that is not selectable, like the base map is not selectable and the raster images is not selectable, you will see here that you cannot enable or disable the selection for it. So we will return it back again and we will clear the selection. And then the next option here we have list by editing. So list by editing will show you the layers that you can edit and that you have the ability to edit it, and the layers that you cannot edit. So for example, we cannot edit the raster images and we cannot edit the base map. So that's why it shows you right here. Maybe sometimes you cannot edit feature classes because it's hosted somewhere which is secure and you need to have the username and password for it. Just make sure that to check which layers you can edit and which one you cannot from list by editing. Also, you can disable which layers you want to edit and which layers you want to not edit from here. So for example, if I disable cities and freeways, when I say modify or create a new feature, you will see that I only have the ones that is selected here. If I disabled anyone from here, it will disappear from here. So if you want to limit your editing on one specific feature layer or several feature layers, you can come here and say I want to edit this one and this one and this one, and I want to enable selection for this one and this one. So when you do your editing, when you have a lot of layers, your focus is on one area and one specific layer. So let's check it back again, and the next option we have here is list by snapping. As you know, snapping, you can snap on edge, you can snap on like the end of the line, you can snap on vertex, you can snap in different ways. But sometimes, again, if you are working on a lot of layers, you will find the need that you want to disable and enable snapping for specific layers, because when you move the mouse, you don't want to snap everywhere. So for example, when we draw the freeways as lines, we try to snap to the end of the line or the vertex. So if I have a lot of polygons around my lines, every time I try to snap to my line, it might snap to the vertex in the polygon. In this case, you will see that it happens a lot with you if you do a lot of editing. So if this happened with you, this is the way that you can disable by saying, I don't want to snap on the counties or orange counties or the cities. I just only want to snap on the freeways. And you can enable or disable that from here. So right now, if we do an editing and we are trying to snap, it's not gonna snap to any other layers other than the freeways. And the last option here, we have a list by labeling. So if you have your labeling enabled or your map, you can actually enable and disable it from here. So we enabled before the labels for the counties, so that's why it's selected here. So if I want to enable the labels for the Orange County cities, I can just select it from here, and you will see that the labels will show up on the map right now. And you can disable it again. For the classes, when we do the video for the labeling, you will see the option that you can create different classes for your labels. So you can show the labels with different fonts or colors based on a certain expression. When we do that, you will see that we can see the classes from here. So you don't only have the ability to enable or disable the labels, you can only disable or enable specific classes inside the labels. So that's it for these options right here. It's a different way to see your layers based on certain things like selection or editing or snapping or labeling or data source. But most of the time you will be working on just list by drawing order, and you will use it from here most of the time. Now let's go through when you right click on each item in your content window, what we see. So for example, here we have the map. This is the first item. When you right click on it, and you have the option to add data, and if you have any data that is copied, you can paste it here. So for example, if I right click on this one, I say copy, and I right click here, I can paste it right here. You can copy and paste a video, or you can create a new group layer. And a group layer is really good to organize your layers if you have a lot of layers. So for example, we can create a new group layer and call it feature layers, and enter, and then you will select the cities, freeways, Orange County, and counties, all the feature layers, and you just drag and drop them under this one. So when you open your group layer, you will see that you have these layers that you put inside the group, and you can disable or enable all of them at once. So here, that's give you another option to organize your layers. If you, for example, have layers just for freeways, you can create a group layer for it. If you have a layer just for different counties and so many counties in different feature layers, you can add it here as well. So that's a way to organize it. Also, let's create another group layer, for example, for the raster images. So here you can say raster, and we will select the raster images we have, and we will put it inside of here. Also, inside the group layer, you can create another group layer. So you can create a subgroup layers based on how you want to organize your data. And as you see here, we have the order different. It was the raster was below the feature layers. Now we can just drag it and drop it anywhere. Also, you can drag and drop anything inside anything. And then if you want to bring anything outside of the group layer, you can click it and drag it and drop it under the map. It will come outside of the group layer. So this is the way you can organize your layers however you want and put it in group layers. And it's a really nice way to organize your map if you have a lot of layers. So the next option here we have is set reference scale. And reference scale, it will set your current graphics and labels on the map scale right now to be the same way how it looks right now, regardless if you are zooming in or out. So let me show you how that works. If I am here and I'm zooming out, you will see that the labels and the features will change its size based on what scale I am in. But if I want to maintain this view of my labels and features, I can right click here and I say set reference scale. And now when I zoom out or I zoom in, you will see that the features is not going to change and the labels is not going to change how it looks like. So that's the way you can maintain how your features looks like on different scales by right click here and say set reference scale, or you can clear it by say clear reference scale. And the next option here we have is labeling, and here we have the labeling where you can change the settings for the labels for this specific layer or the entire map. So you can prioritize or change the weights for this labels to show specific labels on top of each other or away from each other. And we have a separate video for labeling where we will focus more on the options for labeling, but you can change these settings from here as well. Convert labels will allow you to convert any labels on the map. Because we selected the map, we are not selecting a layer, so whenever we change anything here, it will apply to all the layers. So here you can convert the labels to annotation, and we will see how can we create annotation feature class and how can we use it. But here you can change the labels to annotation from here, or you can change your labels to graphics from here as well. Here you create a thumbnail, and create a thumbnail will create like a snapshot for your current extent and add it as an image for the map. And this image will show up in the metadata and will show up when you publish your map online. So let's see how that will look like. Let's see, for example, I want to create this thumbnail, the extent I have right now. So I create thumbnail right now. When I right click and I go to view metadata, you will see here that you have, this is the thumbnail based on the extent we were at, and here is the other metadata information that you can also edit it. And when you click edit metadata, you will see that you can actually change your thumbnail again from here. You can update it by uploading a picture or take the current extent, or you can delete it. You can change the title of your map, add tags, add summary, description, credits, and you can also change the scale for your map if you want to publish it somewhere. This is the things that everyone will see when they open the map, see the details, see the thumbnail for the map. Or if you right click and view metadata, it will show the metadata you added when you selected edit metadata. So that's view metadata and edit metadata. Import thumbnail, instead of taking the image from the current extent, you can upload any image and it will be used. Here the last thing we have, save as map file. And as you know, on ArcGIS Pro we have a project, and inside this project we can have several maps. We can have several scene view or local scene or globe scene. So now you can actually save this exact map as a map file and you can send it to anyone. So instead of sending the entire ArcGIS Pro project, you can just send the map file. So let's see what is extension for this one. As you see here for the map, it will have a map X extension and you can save it. So let's save it right here and say California map. So now when I save it, now I have my map file where I can open it in another ArcGIS project, or I can send it to someone, but I have to send also the feature classes and all the data that I have right here. So when they open the map file, they can see the same things you are seeing right here. Also, one of the things I want to mention is that you can change your map name by right click and go to properties, and you can go to general and let's call this California and say okay. And you will see that the name here will change and the name here will change as well. So if you have different maps on your project, you can name each map differently so you can differentiate between them, so you can open a lot of maps and you can be able to switch between these maps easily based on the name you have right here. So let's right click again, and here you can open the properties, and we have another video for properties for each item, so we will keep that right now. So let's see what other items we have here. We have the group layer. When you right click on the group layer, you have the option to add data, add another group layer, copy paste any items inside. You can remove this group layer, and if you remove the group layer, it will remove the group layer and every single item inside of it. So make sure that if you want to disable a group layer and you want to take all your items out of your group layer, make sure you don't click remove. You click ungroup, and ungroup will remove everything inside the group layer, outside of it, and then will remove the group layer together. But if you right click and you say remove, it will remove all the layers inside your group layer as well. So be careful with that. So now let's Control Z, so we return our group layer again. As you see here, Control Z help you to undo what you did if you did anything wrong. And you can right click here and say zoom to layer, and zoom to a group layer will zoom to all the feature layers inside this group layer. So it will show you all the features. But if you select one feature layer and you say zoom to, it will zoom to only this feature layer you have right here. Also here we have a symbology. You can change the symbology for the group layer and it will be applied to all the features. So for example, if you have different polygons that have different symbology, you can change the polygon symbology for the group layer, and it will be applied to all the layers you have in the group layer. And we have a separate video for the symbology, for the points, for the lines, for the polygons, and for the raster as well. Here you have the sharing, where instead of going to this ribbon right here, the share and do your sharing, you can just right click here and specify which layer or which group you want to share. So you can save this group layer as a layer file, and layer file will have an extension of lyrx, and it's just a file similar to the map file. So when you save it as a layer file, it's just a file, a very small size file that just reference the content inside this layer. So it doesn't contain the data, it just contains a reference to the data. And when you share as layer package, this is a little bit different, because when you share as a layer package, it will create a package that contains the layers and the data inside of it. And as you see here, it opened a window for us to define the settings for how we want to share it as a package layer. And the package layer, it will be one file that you can upload it online later, or you can share it with anyone. And when you share it with anyone, they will be able to open it on ArcGIS Pro, or they can use it to publish these layers you selected right here. So layer package is a really good option to choose if you want to share the data and specific thing inside your map, and you want maybe to share it with someone, or you share it online. So as you see here right now, we have the option to upload it online or save package to file, and you select where your output location will be, and the extension will be LPKX, layer package X. And here you can enter the summary and the tags, and you can define maybe which layers you want to include, and if you have any attachment, do you want to include the attachment with this layer package or not. So here you have different options to set up the settings for your layer package. So here when we right click again, we have the sharing as web layer, and again sharing as a web layer is exactly same like here. You share this group layer as a feature service, and it will be uploaded to ArcGIS Online as feature service, and each layer inside this layer group will be shared as a feature service. If you already uploaded this group layer as a feature service or a web layer before, and you want to overwrite the existing one, instead of clicking on share, you click overwrite. So sometimes you publish a map and then you do some changes on ArcGIS Pro, or you do changes on this map, and you want to overwrite the one that you have on ArcGIS Online. You use overwrite, and it will give you the option to choose which one you want to overwrite on your ArcGIS Online account. And here you can view the metadata for this group layer, or you can edit the metadata for the group layer, or open the properties from here as well. So now when we go to right click on any feature layer, all the feature layers have the same right click menu, but as you see, we have more things here. So here we have the regular thing like copy or remove this layer from the map, or copy it and paste it somewhere else. Here you have the group, but group is disabled because you need to select several layers to add it to another group. So for example, let's select this one and press Ctrl on our keyboard, select this one, and now when I right click, it will allow me to group these two layers inside a new group layer. And also when you right click, you will see some options enabled where you can apply to both layers at the same time. So we can open the attribute table for these two layers at the same time. But here, if you select one, right click, here you open the attribute table. Here you can add error layers, and add error layers is used for topology. And when we create the topology dataset, we will see how this works. Design allow you to create domains. Also, we have a video for each item here, but domains, you can manage it from here. You can manage your fields for this layer from here, subtypes, attribute rules, contingent values, and we will see what this thing does later, but you can access and manage it from here. Here you have the option to create graphs for this layer, and we will see how we can create graphs in another video, but here's the option to create a graph for your layer by right click on it and create what type of graph you want. You can create reports. So here, for example, when you right click report, you will see here that you have the option to create a report, and here you can set the report name, which layer you want to create a report for, and here you can which rows you want to show in your report, and you select which fields you want to show in your report. Next, and then here you can sort or group this data from these options right here, so you can design your own report however you want. And this is a good tool to design a report. Maybe you want to print the attribute data for a certain layer and send it to someone. You can create a report from it, and when you go next, Here you can change the template, the styling, and the size of the paper, and you can make it landscape or portrait. And once you click finish, you will see that there will be a report will be created for you that you can print. So here, for example, it shows me how my report will look like. Here the city report, the object ID, city name, lat long, and this is how your report will look like in a design. We didn't change the colors or the grouping or anything, and you can manage your report like you manage the layout. Every single section you can change it. So if I select the report header, it will highlight the report header for me, and I can do changes here, or I can insert things, or I can view different things inside my report. And we will try to make a video for the reports specifically to see what is all the options we have in the report. So now let's close the report and right click, and here the joins and relates, and we will create a separate video for joins and relates for the feature layers to see what join does and what relate does, and use it. Zoom to layer will just zoom to this specific layer. Selection, here you can manage the selection for this layer, like you have it right here in the edit. You can manage it from here, but this one will manage it for the layer itself. So if I came here and say select all, it will select all the features inside this layer. And also I can come here and say clear selection, pan to the selected features, pan to or zoom to the selected features. And this one you might need to use it specifically if you make a selection by attribute or selection by location, and your actual selection is somewhere away from your extent and you cannot see your selection. You can go and click zoom to selection, it will zoom to this selected features, or pan to selection, it will pan to it, or switch selection, it will switch between your selected features, and you can manage your selection options per layer from here. And here you have the option to make this the only selectable layer, and when you click on this one, you will see that here everything is disabled and only the layer you selected will be selectable. So let's return this back, go back here again. So here the label, you can enable or disable the label from here. So let's say Orange County City, enable labels. You will see that the labels will be enabled right now, and you can disable it again. And here you have labeling properties, and we have a separate video for labeling, so we can focus on that more. Convert labels, same thing as the map. You can convert it to annotation or graphics. Symbology, you can change the symbology for the feature layer from here. So keep in mind that when you right click and select symbology on the layer, this is how it will look like. When you right click on the symbology itself, it will give you the ability to choose the color, and when you double click on the symbology, it will open the symbology gallery for you to give you easy access to change the symbology. So there's different ways to change the color, a size, or the shape of the symbology, and we will go through that when we come to the advanced symbology part. So let's close this, and now let's see what else we have. Here we have disabled pop-ups, and as you see here, we don't have an identify option like we used to have in ArcMap. Your identify is automatically enabled when you have your explore option choice. So here we are not doing any pan, or we are not zooming in or out. Once you click on any feature, it will open the pop-up for you and show you the information for this feature. So you can think about identify as just click on the feature anytime if you have the explore tool selected. So this is the pop-up window, and it shows you all the information for the feature you selected. So you can click anywhere and it will show you the information for this location you selected. So if we want to disable the pop-ups, you can come here and say disable pop-ups for this layer. So when I click again, it will just choose the other layers, but it's not going to choose Orange County cities. So it chose the one below it. So if I chose also this one and I say disable pop-ups and I click, nothing is going to happen, and I'm not gonna be able to open the pop-ups for these two layers. And this tool also is good, especially if you have a lot of layers on top of each others and you want to disable the pop-ups or enable it for certain layers. You can do that from here. So let's enable it again. Right click and enable, and then when you right click here again, and here we have the data, so you can export your features to another features. So when you click on it, it will open the geoprocessing window for exporting data, and here you choose which layer you want to export. Because we selected this one, so automatically it shows the Orange County cities. Where you want to save the new feature class that will be exported, you can change the location, you can save it anywhere, and you can add here the name, so you can call it new features. You can add the name for your new feature class, and here you can define an expression to filter your features before you export it to the new features. Here you define which fields you want to add to your new feature class and which one you want to remove. So you can remove or add any fields here for your new feature class. And also here you have the geodatabase settings. Same thing, when you create a new feature class, you define all the settings. Here it gives you the same options when you create a new feature class, but here it will copy this specific layer that we selected and will create a new feature class based on this one. So let's close this one. Also here you can export a table. An export table will create a table for you, but it's not going to create a feature class. So it will just create a table. The output name will be OC_table. And then we can keep the expression, and here you can change the fields. But when we click OK, what will happen, it will create a table from the attribute table. And as you see here, now we have a table that we can right click and say open. And when you open the table, you have the same data you have in your Orange County cities, but without any features, without any symbology. It's just the attribute table. You can convert it or export it to a table using export to table. So let's close this one. Right click here and see. And rematch address will be if you have a locator service or geocoding service that we will create a video specifically for. You can try to find the addresses for the features you have on your layer based on this geocoding service using the rematch address option. And here we have sharing, same thing like the other layers. And here the view metadata, edit metadata, and open the properties. So that's for the feature classes options. When you right click on the raster, you will see that most likely you will have the same options you have here, but some of them might be different. Like for example, for the feature layer, we don't have this one. So zoom to source resolution will zoom your map to the resolution, the right resolution of this raster image without having it like pixeled. So you cannot be zoomed out or zoomed in, but it's the exact right resolution and it will show on your map. So let's say, let's enable this one and right click on it and say zoom to resolution. You will see that it will zoom where the image resolution is the right resolution without any pixelation or without misrepresentation for the raster. So let's disable it. Right click. The other options we have, for example, when you choose data, you can export raster. So you can export the raster to another raster. So you don't have the option to export to features because this is not a feature class. Or if you have a mosaic dataset, you can add it to a mosaic dataset. So it looks the same like we have the options in the feature class, but it's different because this is a raster, and here for example the reports is disabled because you cannot create a report from this image, but most likely all the other things will be the same. You have the metadata, edited properties. Symbology also will be different for the raster. So when we click symbology here, you will see that the window here looks different than when we open the symbology for the feature layer. So that's it for the menu options for the raster. For the tiled map surfaces or your base maps, you also have limited options when you right click. So here you have the copy, remove, zoom to layer, disable or enable pop-ups. You have the sharing. You can share it as a layer package or layer file. You cannot share it as a map service or a web layer because it's actually already published online and you are using it online. You can change the metadata, you can edit the metadata, but it's not gonna be applied online. It's just gonna be applied on your project level. And here you can open the properties for it. And the last thing we have here is the table. And when you right click on a table, if the table have an XY data, you will be able to display the X and Y data on the map. It will show like as a graphic. And when you open it, you will see that here you can choose which table you want to use if you have several tables. Output feature class, where you want to save your points from the XY information. And here you choose the X field if you have it, and the Y field if you have it, and the Z and the coordinate system. So you can convert your table if it have lat and long, which we will do later. We will add X and Y data, but here you can add your table. If it have X and Y data, you can right click, say display XY data, and create a point feature class from this X and Y or lat and long data. Here also we have the same option like design, same thing as the feature class, create a short or create a report, make a join or relate, same thing as the feature class. Here you have geocoding table. So if this table have right address information, you can create a geocoding service using this table. Same thing as display XY data. If you have a table that have the right data, you have the option to create a geocoding or create feature class from this one. Selection here, you can switch selection when you open it. You can switch selection like we do in the attribute table. And here, data, you can only export it to table, and you can share this table as a table in ArcGIS Online. So ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Portal, when you publish different things, they have different formats. So you can publish web map, you can publish a table, you can publish a raster image, and you can publish a web layer. So each one of them have different things, and there's other items that show up in the content when we go to ArcGIS Online. But here you can publish your table as a table or override an existing one. And last thing here, we have the view metadata and edit metadata and properties. Same thing we have with all the other layers. So that's it, guys, for this video. Now you know what is the content window, what is the different options here, what every single item menu looks like, and what you can do with it. In the next video, we will focus on the properties for each single item inside our content window. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.